Today we are beginning some really cool projects for my 96 Chevy Tahoe. Hey guys, hope you're doing well. So I recently took the Tahoe on a road trip and I came up with a list of things that I wanted to do to really beef up the build. The weather's getting really nice, I want to take this thing out a lot more, especially camping. So let me show you what we've got and what we're going to be doing. First up, we have this new gauge cluster from Dakota Digital. So I've been eyeing this gauge cluster for a while and I finally pulled the trigger on it. Now some notable differences between this and the stock clusters. You'll actually notice the tach is no longer piggybacking off the speedometer. It's its own full gauge. It actually reaches 8,000 RPM as opposed to 6,000 on the stock cluster. And then the speedometer actually reaches 160 as opposed to 100. So say you have like an LS swap in your vehicle or you want more accurate and updated readings, this would definitely be a good option to go for. There's actually a few ways to spec this out. You can get the background in black or silver. I went with the black background. And then you can actually get the LEDs in red, white, or blue. I specifically went with the white because, as you know, the interior in the Tahoe is all blue. And I kind of feel like this will blend everything together because a lot of the interior lights are white. So that's definitely my ideology for that, to get everything to look a little bit more uniform. It does have this little paper right here protecting it, so it looks a little dirty, but I'm only going to take that off once it's actually installed. I want to keep it as clean as possible. And you'll also notice that the odometer is now going to be digital, as well as the trip miles right here. I believe this also functions as a clock now. Not too sure on that, but I will definitely let you guys know. Now this will fit most 95 and beyond OBS Chevys, so if yours looks like mine, there's a decent chance it'll probably fit. So it's like the Silverado, the Tahoe, the Suburban. And they do actually make a more upgraded version of this model that I believe all the LEDs are customizable, and then you can actually get little display screens where the odometer and the clock are. They only came out with that one in like October. It is a little bit more expensive, so I'll maybe get that one a little bit later down the road. Overall, this is just gonna be a really nice upgraded piece because it's gonna give me a lot more accurate readings. It's gonna be a nice new interface, and I think it'll really clean up the look of the interior of the vehicle. And the way that this actually installs is similar to like a head unit. As you can see here, it has that little port, and it comes with the plug with all these extra wires, and you basically connect all those extra wires to all the various aspects of the vehicle. So it's not going to be where it's just making contact with that like little copper sheet in the back. You're actually going to be going a step further than that, but nonetheless it's going to be pretty in-depth. So this install is going to have its own dedicated video. But speaking of head units, is actually what we have next. This old head unit is pretty dated. As you can see, what they did is they just cut out this little center section in the dash, and then they put this little bezel around it to kind of clean it up and, you know, install it like that. This is actually an auxiliary port, but it doesn't actually fit. As you can see, it's just kind of covered up by the actual dash itself. So it doesn't actually even have that functionality, which isn't ideal. And then on top of that, if you actually press something, you'll see it has that little pinpoint thing, which yeah, that's just really old. So I definitely think that the way that the previous owner went about this vehicle is that, like, early 2000s, they built it up, made it really cool and everything, and they just kind of left it because everything's been really dated and everything we've been addressing, you know, the front end and tail lights and everything. So I ended up ordering this head unit I found online, and this one's actually a little bit different than what I usually see. So this is actually a single DIN widescreen head unit from Joying Auto. Single DIN versus double DIN. Single DIN is basically just like the rectangular one, and then double DIN is like the square one. So think of it as like old style radios versus an actual like touchscreen. This is actually what holds the screen. So this has all the plugs back here and everything, and you can see everything just kind of connects, and it does come with all these extra wires. But that's not the main focus, though. It is the actual head unit. And this is actually the widescreen screen. Which is pretty cool because you don't really see them like this too often. And I kind of wanted to go with this because it'll add a lot more practicality and feasibility to the install itself. So this is what it's looking like. You'll see it is a little bit taller, so it is kind of like that doubled in sizing. But nonetheless, this is actually one of the screens that gets mounted, and it's not actually going to be flush with the dash. It's going to be standing out just a little bit, and I think it'll go really well with the dash because it's essentially a rounded off rectangle, and that's all the lines in the dash itself. So I say feasibility in the sense that it's not actually going to need me to cut up another dash. I do have a replacement dash that I'm be using. It actually fits pretty well. Granted, it's not perfect. It is a little bit bigger than I thought it was going to be. As you can see, it does not hinder at all the AC controls or anything, so it'll give me that good bit of practicality. And then I still keep that little pocket down there. This is actually Android Auto and CarPlay compatible, so ironically, my first vehicle with CarPlay is gonna be my second oldest vehicle. I haven't seen too much on it, so I'm not gonna say it's like the best thing ever or, you know, any specifics about it. So I will do a review on it whenever I install it and just kind of have everything be a little bit more fluid. I've just been using this little radio Bluetooth receiver thing that I stole from my best friend. And as long as the head unit can connect to my phone, play music, and look cool, I'll consider it a win. mainly because it'll be an upgrade over what I currently have. Enjoying Auto does have good reviews on Amazon. I know they're not super mainstream, but seeing those reviews did get me a lot more comfortable with purchasing it. I'll give you guys a full breakdown of the install as well as a review on basically how it's going, because it is something that I'm very much looking forward to. My only real gripe with it is I do wish there was like a manual knob or dial to adjust the volume. I'm one of those people that kind of like, you know, I feel more comfortable just adjusting it like that. But nonetheless, it's usually going to be Yvette accounting for it anyway, just because she's going to be the one that's going to be playing the music. The next big thing is the bench seat conversion, which I already did, but do not worry guys, I will show you guys how to do it a little bit later in the video. But it is something that I've always wanted to do with this vehicle, so finally having it done, I'm super happy about it. But more than that, I'm also gonna get it reupholstered in blue vinyl to match the rest of the interior. It's gonna be like this bench seat here in the back. But real quick, my 2 little cents on bench seats versus bucket seats. Personally, I absolutely adore bench seats. I grew up with them. My grandpa has a couple OBS Chevys, and I remember always sitting in the middle with like my grandpa, me, and my dad. And then my dad also had a truck with a bench seat, and kind of same thing. It was always me in the middle between him and my mom. So I always grew up with them, good memories and everything. More than that,
now it's me in the middle seat, and then Jose next to me.
So now we'll actually have the full front row just kind of filled up and everything. In my opinion, it's more comfortable, and any vehicle you get nowadays, aside from single cab trucks, are gonna have buckets and a console, and basically every vehicle I've had has had buckets and a console, so I kind of want to change it up a little bit with this.
And then I get to sit next to you.
Yeah,
so that's honestly why I love them.
Yeah, it'll be nice to be able to have her just like right next to me, as opposed to like all the way in the passenger side. So
far
it's a lot more practical on top of that, because this vehicle is only 2 doors, but being able to say it fits 6 people is definitely something you can sign me up for. This vehicle came with bucket seats from the previous owner. They were reupholstered and everything, so I never really had that original factor of the vehicle for the front seats at least. So that is kind of what I'm wanting to get back to in the bench seat aspect. This is actually the 60/40 bench seat, which is ideal for getting into the back seat. You can actually move this section forward and back, as well as that seat itself. Getting into the back seat is very easy, as opposed to getting like a full single bench, which actually has the bottom section as one big piece, which would actually give you a lot more hiccups in just general usage. And I know it's not super clean right now, but it will be reupholstered in blue vinyl, so it'll look really good and go with the rest of the interior. But next up is this little bin for the dash. If you notice, under the AC controls, it's actually just an empty pocket. It's actually going to be just to kind of clean it up, make it actual like a functional pocket, so it's not just like, you know, just metal brackets and everything. Put your wallet in here, put your extra stuff in here, and it's just a nice little thing to clean up the overall dash, which I think will play really well with the rest of the things we got.
This is so cute. Right? I just can't get over how cute this box is. But inside we have these.
So these are just little knobs that are going to go on the AC control panel. These are from a Chevy van. So I found an article online and a few videos confirming it, that you can actually just order these. These are actually direct replacement parts for the AC controls, and it'll just give it a nice little cleaned up look. So I think this with the new head unit will look really nice. It has this little chrome little ring around it, and the head unit does have a little chrome trim on it as well. Just really update the look of the dash as a whole. This is actually just a single DIN head unit kit. You can see right there, it says 95 2005 Chevrolet, and in all honesty, it is really nothing fancy. It's essentially just to kind of close up the opening that's going to be actual head unit kit, so it's not just like floating in space. And this I actually ordered months ago. I just forgot to install it.
What did you order? I don't even remember.
I think the second you see the color, you'll remember what it is.
Hold up. Are these what I think they are?
Probably.
I think these are the cup holders.
Mm-hmm.
They are?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it is a replacement cup holder that actually has the proper functioning dual cup holder. Because the one in mine, I actually never knew it was a double cup holder, just busted. I thought it was just a normal cup holder. So once I found that out, I found this one online. And it is in the correct blue, because the one in there is actually like a little greenish. I don't know if it's just faded or whatnot, but we'll finally be able to have a dual cup holder set up. So this is actually gonna be very fitting to have a person sitting right there in the middle, which is you. Because she'll have her own little cup holder. She'll have a new head unit to be able to mess with all the music. She'll have little knobs.
My lip gloss, my wallet.
All the good stuff.
It's all for me, honestly.
Yeah, except for this. This is for me. This is what I've been wanting forever. Now on to the install. So the seats that the Tahoe currently has got done up by the previous owner. They're just the buckets though, and I do have the center console. We're gonna be swapping it for this bench seat right here. But as you can see, the interior is blue, so that's why I wanted to get a blue bench seat, because there's areas other than the fabric that are blue. So you can see the brackets, the levers right here. I wanna make sure everything is cohesive with the rest of the vehicle. Now while seat swaps might seem a little daunting just because they're such large pieces of the vehicle, they're actually pretty easy. Essentially all it is just a bolt in each corner of the bracket, then a couple plugs underneath, and that's essentially it. This one does have this cover right here, but there's a little screw that holds it in position. So I'm gonna go ahead and start removing everything. All the bolts holding it in position are 5/8. So the seat is out, and that was basically just 4 bolts, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1 plug, and that was essentially it. So one thing I am gonna have to account for the center seat is the seat belt. You can see the driver's side and the passenger side seat belts are on the B pillars. Seat belt buckle here and one over here. Now I'm not completely sure how it was supposed to be from the factory, but for my best guess looking at parts online, the center section had a lap belt, and that either came from the seat itself or maybe possibly the bracket. But basically from there it goes to the passenger side seat belt that's already there, and basically instead of just having one, it has 2, one facing each way. So I found some parts online that resemble those pieces, so we'll see what happens when they get here. My main note, while the interior itself is blue, the buckles are this gray black color, so it's a lot easier to find one that was basically 2 pieces in this color for that side. But yeah, just kind of little interesting thing I found out. And these are pretty easy because they just have that one bolt there that keeps them in position. Since I upgraded the seatbelts on the Fusion, seatbelts no longer really seem daunting to me. It's literally just hardware and maybe a plug or 2. So kind of same thing. Now for the center console, I did pop this little tray out, and you can kind of see right there 2 bolts there. I'm assuming there's also 2 more underneath this tray, but it doesn't go that far back, and I'm not really sure how to get it out. But nonetheless, pretty sure those 2 are going to be the ones that I have to take out, and probably 2 more underneath there, and that should be it for the center console. Okay, so this tray did give me some issues because, as you can see, it has little extensions on the molding, which are basically a stopping point. So all I did was I just kind of manhandled them to squeeze them in. This will just kind of expand a little bit, and this will shrink a little bit. And basically, as long as you can get it past that one little edge, then the rest is good because it'll just slide all the way through. Actually, I don't think that was necessary because, at least for this specific scenario, the bracket isn't actually screwed in back here. As you can see, it just has that clamp thing. So I believe, yeah, you can just slide it out. Really hoping these pieces fit, but then again, it's an older vehicle, so I mean, if it doesn't fit, you can probably make it fit. This is probably going to be the easiest way to add an extra buckle because it's still just the one bolt that holds the 2 together. They're actually in pretty good condition. They look dirty, but I mean, they don't really look blemished or anything, so that's definitely a plus. So I did get the passenger seat in. It's a direct replacement, so very, very easy. All the bolts lined up. One cool thing, when I removed the old seat, I actually noticed there was a wire underneath for power, but wasn't being utilized because the old seat actually didn't have anything for it. Whereas this seat, whenever I was messing with it, I actually noticed it had that, which is the lumbar support. Plugged it in, and it all worked, surprisingly. So on top of adding an extra seat, now the passenger seat has lumbar support, as does the driver's seat. Now the 2 driver's side bolts do still line up, whereas because I had a center console, you can see under here the slit for the bracket for the center console. And thing is, the hole doesn't really line up. It's basically closer to the edge, but nonetheless, it's still in the opening area for the bracket. So it doesn't line up with the hole, but it does line up with the area that it's supposed to be bolted down. So I am gonna need to drill a new hole. Thing is, for this vehicle, all the holes for the bolts go like directly through the bottom of the vehicle, so it's actually pretty easy to account for. You were probably going to need to do that anyway, specifically because this is the bolt for the center console, whereas this is the bolt for the seat. So you can see there is a size difference, and you don't really want to hold the seat together with a smaller bolt if you can get a more heavy duty bolt. Positioning is good. You can see everything lines up pretty well. And that's going to do it for this video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a great rest of your week, and I will see you in the next one.